Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Friday, February 6th, 2026, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. They're having a reverse aging health call and all the rest tonight after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're in a comfortable position, relaxed into your body, no outside distraction. Still as a statue and focused on your breath, rising and falling. Now imagine that every one of us, there's really no variance. What these bodies house, so to speak, is immeasurable in power. It's ironic that when, as a watcher observer, you view this civilization, you come to the awareness that they don't know that. They don't visit it, they don't know it. Why is that? Because they have no launching beginning start for themselves to identify, confirm, verify, and authenticate with themselves that they are an omnipotently powerful, supreme, manifesting, abundant being that never dies. There's no such thing as death. Okay? And when you have a civilization that lives, so to speak, in the ego mind, they're not going to discover that because they're focused on what? Well, I have mortality, and sooner or later we're going to leave the body, right? And like I've used the analogy many times, is that you have a suit. You know, men have a suit. Well, women have suits too, but man has a suit and woman has a dress. You wear it, right? It might be your favorite. And you wear it, and you wear it, it wears out. And you have to get a new one. You know, so many, cleaning and so on and so forth. Wears material out, and then you have to get a new one. It's not much different with these bodies right now. Is that the body wears out and you get a new one. Pretty much it. It's like a suit of clothes in many ways. Obviously much more advanced. But, you sit there and you look and you say, it is really like that. So you want to look good, so you take care of it, right? You take care of the suit, the dress, whatever. Make sure it looks as new as possible, as long as possible. And then eventually you come to the conclusion that, it's time to get a new one. And now, we don't do that right now with these bodies because we're so immersed in the ego mind, so then we get to a certain point, like I have shared, where you're focused on mortality. More and more. Not everybody, but the majority. No, not knowing, but if you know, there's a lot of things involved. What you've been taught growing up contradicts the truth. In other words, you, who you really are, never dies. You never die. You just change form. That's it. But we're emotionally so connected to the physical plane that we don't know that, and we don't embrace it, which would allow us to be completely wild and free 24/7. So we carry this heaviness throughout each lifetime that, kind of it weighs us down as we look around us, and everybody's experiencing similar things. Now, would it make a difference if you were mortal? Right? Would it be a difference? Or would the ego mind, flood in avenues that would still cause you to be worried, stressed, and fearful and anxiety-filled? Obviously, if you're an ego mind and you become immortal, yeah, you're going to suffer, you're going to have issues. But in heart-mindedness, you're not going to. Because ego mind isn't in heart-mindedness, which affords us the opportunity to live free. Without constrictions, deadlines, and all that stuff. Also affords us to realize that we can create anything we choose whenever we want. It's a big difference. That's why I talk about it so much. To get the civilization on this planet to start embracing that avenue rather than to fear it or deny it. We all know that aging is a dis-ease. Now, if you said that to, those that are not aware yet, of course they'd roll their eyes and think you were a Fruit Loop or a beanbag, something like that. But there's others that say, and I've often thought about that, why is it that we do age? What is it, the reason why we age? Well, so the body wears out and then you can get a new body and have a new life experience. But couldn't you have that as an immortal? As long as you choose, you could have thousands of years of experience. And we know that in the life form, the bodies, we know what causes aging. Okay? It's like the suit wears out, body wears out, and that's it. You get a new one. It's interesting to realize that if you're new and young for thousands of years, you have a lot more existence time to learn and experience. Huge, huge difference. In fact, you can't even compare the two. Beyond the difference between day and night. But in eventuality, not everyone, because not everyone is there yet with that, but more and more of us will choose that avenue, that direction, because we will have moved more and more into heart-mindedness and less in ego-mindedness. And as we do that and we transition, we begin to realize who and what we are. And we experience different forms because we want to. You have one life, you incarnate into that body and the baby, and then it goes through the cycles and everything, and then you exit. You do it again and again and again. Most of us, thousands and thousands and millions, if not billions, of years of incarnation. We inhabit things so that we can experience those things. We know in the beginning, right, that it's not long term. I mean, 90 years to us gods is really a drop in the bucket. It isn't long at all. And so we incarnate into different bodies, but we don't have memory of the past body and the past life. So we just keep, it's like you're starting from scratch mostly when you enter that next body. You start from scratch again. You have no reference. I've talked about this before. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't at all, period. It would seem to be we have the choice to live in these bodies as long as we choose as a young body. Okay? Not as a decaying, rotting away body. Now, then we realize that. So some of us would probably say, we'll see how it goes, right? We'll see the first 100 years how it goes. Now, you're 100 years old, but you're in a 20-something body. You don't have all of that other stuff that you've experienced before, but you no longer. Why do you need to experience the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? You don't. So you experience it, and you say, well, okay, so 500 years went great. I've learned a lot, and I'm not ready to leave yet, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay. 1,000 years goes by, 2,000, 3,000 years go by. Maybe you'll shift and say, yeah, it's time for me to leave. You lay down and leave. But the difference is that you know who and what you are. Not like today, where the majority of us do not know who and what we are. You know who and what you are, and you're mostly on heart-mindedness, and you become immortal. It's a different set, way different than what we have today right now. And see, since we're gods, don't you believe that we should be able to create anything we choose? True heart-mindedness, which means, we're not talking about destruction and death and conflict and dishonesty. We're talking about the opposite, flourishing and expanding and thriving, right? And peace and prosperity, gentleness, kindness, and generosity and humbleness with ourselves. A whole different energetic atmosphere, completely different. You approach this planet. When that has transpired, okay, you'll feel that frequency emanating out from the planet. Powerful, okay? I'm not talking about meek and mild, weak, but powerful, but in the God force, the light. Okay? This is how this planet's going to be transformed into a God planet paradise. Because that was its initial setup until it was fouled, so to speak. But what it has given us as us gods is what it's given us is that we've learned a lot. We'll be able to reference all the past lives. We've learned a lot. Massive. We don't know that we have right now, but we will. And the challenges on this planet, because of how it was reconfigured for so long, where evil basically penetrated all avenues and influenced everything. Now, a lot of us have discovered that this is not a depressing thing. We've discovered that. Before, we had no clue. But we've discovered that. And now we're watching the elimination of that evil, which is exciting. It's absolutely fabulous. It's magna glorious. And more of us are choosing to go within. It's not just a statement or new age, like they used to say. We're going within to discover once and for all who and what we are. We want to know. That childlike curiosity has been all shined up and is sitting front and center, and more and more of us are going within. And we don't have the fear that we might have had 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. We have excitement, enthusiasm to discover this and to be in total silence and peace like we are in these meditations every day. It's super exciting that we have the opportunity to be in these bodies to experience this. It's off the charts. Now, of course, the ego mind will chime in every now and then, which won't be a surprise to us. And as the time passes, we will master more and more of the ego mind in our thoughts and move more and more into heart-mindedness knowingly, okay? Not subconsciously or unconsciously, but knowingly we will do this, which is even more exciting. And then you'll begin to discover, might be light at first, most likely it'll be light at first, different occurrences that you're creating in your life, whereas for so long it's been that we don't know that, but these things come in, that we don't know that we are the root creator of it. But more and more of us will start realizing that we become aware of it. And in heart-mindedness, you don't get this arrogance, look at me and I'm better than you and all that stuff. That's all ego mind. We have the opposite of that. Deep, eternal gratitude, peace, tranquility, kindness, generosity, as a natural flow. Okay? Because that's our true vibrational frequency, not these lower frequencies that many find themselves in all over the planet. Okay? Struggling and surviving and not making it past 8, 9 years old. That's crazy. So it's the whole transition is absolutely super stimulating for us because we're on this major discovery for the first time in our existence. And we're there in these bodies watching it transpire. Isn't it? You feel the truth in this and the vibrational frequency in your heart center is that doesn't it make sense that God's in these bodies, the bodies are immortal, the gods are immortal, right? So it frees up a lot of things for us to learn and experience that we don't have right now in awareness. So we advance more expeditiously. Not in a hurry. This isn't a race. To expand out, compared to now, what we will be doing is we'll be interacting with other beings. Not human, okay? Well, humanoid, but not of our species, okay? There will be no the crap that's been artificially created on this planet, racial and all that stuff. That won't exist because we'll be heart-minded beings. And we'll embrace the interaction. What would be huge experiences for us that we've never had before in all the lifetimes that we have existed. It's a whole new set of living experiences, existence, that we've never had exposure to before. That gives us we step up and into a universal civilization. What does that mean? Universal civilization is a thriving, expanding, flourishing, creating constantly. Okay? And having reverence and respect for all life, of all things and beings. Because you meet another species, it's not going to be, well, they're weird looking and all that stuff. It'll be that the excitement will be your interaction with them. Okay? It's not going to be, well, you shoot first, ask questions later. Because you will have evolved into a spiritual level of vibrational frequency and harmony that you have never been at before in physical material form with that awareness. He said, therefore, you would automatically sense and know. Plus, you manifest instantaneously. That's why you hear me say, all of us are extremely powerful, supreme manifesting abundant beings that never die. That's what we are. No question about it. And instead of, we've done this, and we're deeply grateful for it in these different lives of struggle and suffering, pain, anguish, anxiety. We know what those are. It's not like we're rookies. We're not. Not even close. And so we look at this and we say, this is going to be fun. And we don't have expectations or attachments. We know it's going to be fun. And we'll create things. Some of them we won't know we created on purpose, so that we have little surprises here and there. But all of us on this planet in this very now moment, okay, have experienced many lifetimes. There's a few, you can't even call it new souls, right? But because we're part of the one. And we experience all of the experience that's accumulated from gentillions of life forms. But we have this forming on the horizon. It isn't a guess. It isn't a theory. It is a fact. And we're moving ever so more nearer and nearer to it. And now most people would say, well, that's kind of crazy because look at the shape of look at the condition and look at all the stuff that's going on. Yeah, because this evil, this rat's nest evil, has been disturbed permanently and is being flushed out and eliminated. And we're all participating in that, whether we know it or not. Because I hear every day people say that it's just, they want it to no longer be. They want freer, flexible lives, enjoy their lives, have fun, right, and not suffer. They've suffered. We've all suffered, like I said. It's not like we don't know what that is. And by staying in gratitude 24/7, we won't become lethargic ever again. We will stay in that vibrational frequency of deep eternal gratitude for everything. And not just once in a while, but all the time. That keeps us in balance. Okay? Many on this planet have taken so many things for granted and very little time in gratitude. Only when things are disrupted in their cycle, right, are they drawn to certain things. It's like you talk with a lot of people that are getting ready to leave the body, and they all say this is similar. I wish I would have taken better care of myself. That's what they say. Right? Wish I had eaten better. I wish I had watched my weight. I wish I had this and this and that. It's usually the physical body, okay, that they wish they would have attended to more. Well, if they're not in deep gratitude for that physical body, they're not going to attend to it. Not until something shows up that they can't ignore. Then they're forced to. And even then what they do is what? They go to a stranger, pretty much, and let them evaluate their bodies on what's best for their bodies. Think about that. Easy that way, isn't it? That's shifting and changing rapidly on this planet. This planet offers everything we will ever need to be healthy as long as we're in these bodies. And it's been hidden, pressed, really heavy duty for a very, very, very long time. Period. Now, do you believe for one instant that all of this throughout the ages, that the motivating factor for what we've seen, experienced lifetime after lifetime are three things in this civilization? And you hear me say them all the time: money, control, and power. What creates that? Okay? Living an ego mind. That's what creates it all. And not having the awareness or clarity that is all an illusion, that it's there for you to master it, so it then moves into peace, and then there's no more. It's the same with our thoughts. Just, all of the thoughts that we get slammed with every day, repeatedly, every day, 24/7, of 60,000 plus thoughts. How do we know 60,000? Measured. Thought processes in the cerebral cortex. Some are more, some are a little less. But that's about an average. And we don't know that those thoughts are not ours. They're not. They're other people's thoughts. But we don't know that, so we embrace them as our own. This is why you experience so much repetitiveness on the planet. Age after age after age, generation after generation, you'll see parts that are duplicate or repetitive if you're paying attention. You'll say, geez, we did this 50 years ago, and now here it is again. That's why. This is why we're not only evolving from the comprehension of moving into heart-mindedness on a permanent basis, but also we master our ego mind and we master our thoughts. So we know when we send thoughts out, we know those thoughts that we're sending out. It's when we want to manifest something, we send a thought out and we do it in clarity and detail so that the manifestation is instantaneous. Because every one of us deserves the best of everything. That's absolute. You got gods housed in these bodies and they're not supposed to deserve the best of everything. They are. Because the gods that we are everything. They're the source of all creation. Period. That's why we're so omnipotently powerful, because the energy that makes us up is immeasurable. That's why we never die. We just change form. And people say, well, then the forms are temporary. Yeah, if you're in a form for 20,000 years, it's still temporary. You're not going to stay there forever, because you'll want to experience other forms. Bottom line. And so everybody has a different perspective. It's like I've said, some people will say, 500 years is great. That's good enough for me. Others will say, no, I want the full Monty. I want to live as long as I choose to live in material physical form. And see, that's why you'll see. Now, I've communicated with beings. Okay? They don't look any different than us, that are 20,000 years old. But they look very super healthy people in their 30s. Okay? And, it's like I said, we're such a diverse civilization that some of us will choose different lengths of time. And some of us won't even choose immortality, which is fine. But we're going to experience a whole, just an endless playground of different experiences that we have not experienced before. Okay? And not only that, our retention will be immediate. Our recall. And this is how this civilization will advance and mature and evolve into high spiritually vibrational beings. This is where we're headed. Question rises a lot, will we all, together? No, some won't. Some won't. They're not. They're just not there yet. That's all. They will. Others will, because they're aware. They've wanted to become aware, and so they've gone within, and they become more and more aware. They don't run around telling people that. That's ego mind. They have no motivation to tell people that. They're just joyous and blissful of the fact that they've chosen to and are aware of it. So the transition is, people say, well, when's this transition going to happen? Right? It's already happening. Right now. This very moment. With many of us on this planet. Obviously, if you don't know who and what you are, you're going to, maneuver through the life and then leave the life and then continually reincarnation until you discover it. Then you start to embrace it, little bit at a time, because it's a definite unknown for the majority of people on this planet. Many times I've said, if you want to pray, okay? Prayer's great. Just another form of meditation. Pray to the God that you are. That's the truth. You can't get any closer than the God that you are, which is part of the one God. and all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. It's you. You. And more people are doing that. Not cases, they're crazy. They're crazy. Talk to themselves all the time. They're crazy people. Heck, there's people that talk to themselves all the time internally. You're carrying a conversation with yourself. The God that you are. You got your name and all that stuff that goes with the body. It's not you. Labels. Wouldn't it be different if every one of us didn't identify with a name? And then one that's not aware would come up and say, "What's your name?" And say, "I don't have a name." You don't need a name. I'm the God within the body, just like you are. When things seem, here's a kind of a measuring vehicle that you can apply. When you come across things that sound so far-fetched, extraordinarily way out there, those are truth. The reason that you respond that way is because your mind is a very small container and can't comprehend it. You get that weird feeling, saying, "Oh, that's just ridiculous. That's so far-fetched. That's unreal. That's not possible at all." That's the ego mind. Okay? Heart-minded is, that is absolutely fabulous. That is absolutely fabulous. Do you believe in that? Absolutely. Anything is possible. We will discover this more and more as we go along on this evolution. This is why many will begin to say, "I'm not going to focus on this stuff because I've already done that, and I manifest it." Right? The down times, the depression, and why this is happening, and why that's happening to people. People say, "Why is this happening to me? Why is it?" Because they created it. So they shift and they go, "Okay, so I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm grateful for experiencing it. Well, I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to focus on high vibrational frequency, loving myself deeply and eternally, being kind, gentle, generous, and humble with myself at all times, experiencing and embracing what I truly am within this body as bliss, joy, peace, happiness, deep eternal love, all of that. This is where I'm going to spend my time. This is where I'll focus, which then continually increases my vibrational frequency, which then opens up the gateway to manifesting anything I choose, anything I want. And you'll know this rings true because you'll feel the vibration center of your heart, center of your chest. It's a real light, wonderful, loving feeling. It may not be there long. It comes and goes. Eventually, it'll be all the time that way. And you give yourself a hug because it doesn't matter. So many unconsciously are assisting on this planet, unconsciously. Okay. Others subconsciously. And then there are those that are consciously aware that they are assisting with this massive transition from dark to light. Big time. Okay? Good feeling. And every single moment, another one of us wakes up to a certain degree. When you woke up, you were kind of groggy, right? and things just all of a sudden just didn't make sense to you, and so you said, well, I'm going to start reading things and stuff. So you go to a bookstore and you'd feel certain books pull you. You weren't really looking for anything in particular, just kind of meandering, and you'd pull the book and you'd come to a certain area in the book and you'd read it, and then you would be satisfied. You wouldn't need the book. You put it back on the shelf. These things are happening all across the planet, and they have been for quite some time. And the God that you are is accessing information that is trillions of years old. Because remember, and you see, for clarity, you're the drop of the golden ocean. You contain the essence of the golden ocean. You look at the golden ocean, it's as far as you can possibly see. It never ends. So this drop holds the essence, so you are the ocean. And then when you drop into the ocean, you become the ocean. See, that's very instrumental, clarifying many things for us, is because we are not separate. We never were. We do live, we kind of say we live separate lives, right? We only have designed it that way so that we can each have different experiences. That's the only reason, okay? It's been taken way too far and out of context. This is why there's so much disrespect for oneself and others on this planet and life. Because we have been so convinced that we are separate, and we're not. And we never will be. Everything is one. All existing and operating through experience. I'll join you in meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. Easy and slow breath out the mouth. Remain still, relaxed into your body, focused on your breath, rising and falling. For today, get out a pen and paper, and for about 20 minutes, write down everything that you appreciate about yourself. Small or big ones, does not matter. Just keep writing these positive statements down. Then choose the top 3 most emotionally moving appreciations on your list. And sit down, feel these ideas inside your body. Notice where you keep them inside. Post your list on a wall where you can read it, add to it any time in the future. Whatever you discover, revisit it again and again and again throughout the day. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. We'll return here tonight, Friday, February 6th, 2026, after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Continue our our reverse aging health call and all the rest. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest, eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on within you or outside of you. Open your heart and allow that which you are to come flooding in. Deep eternal love, happiness, bliss, joy, fun, peace, tranquility.